Welcome to Triple Take. I'm Scott Koral, and I'm here with ESPN's Nick Friedell, who's covering the NBA playoffs from his home in the Bay Area. And Nick, first question out the box, who has the best cheeseburger in the Bay Area?
Scott, I still haven't found the right answer to that one, truly. I mean, you're talking to somebody who lived at All Cheval in Chicago. Nothing's going to top that burger. I've had some nice ones out here, but I am still on the hunt for the best burger there is in the Bay. So if anybody knows the answer to that, please let me know.
Yeah, I lived in Union City. I didn't find one either. So now to the series that you are covering, which is the Heat Celtics. Now, the first two games in the series, the Heat were down double digits in the first halves just to come back and win. What did you see out of the Heat that actually impressed you?
The difference between the Heat and pretty much every other team in the bubble so far, Scott, is their mental toughness is at a level that I haven't seen before, especially in this environment, in this moment in time. They know that no matter how far they go down in any of these games, they're going to find a way to come back. And we saw that at the beginning of the playoffs in the bubble, but we've seen that, of course, even more in the first two games of this series. So I think that is what is setting them apart. Everybody talks about Jimmy Butler, and he's been awesome, and Goran Dragic, he's been awesome. But that group's togetherness, the toughness they have, defensively, the edge, especially with Bam Adebayo playing the way he is, that is what is making the Heat so difficult right now.
Well, after game two, obviously, there was a lot of yelling coming out of the Celtics locker room, and they said that things were thrown. But in game three, the Celtics came back. They came back composed, and they came back focused, leading to a win. So what changed in those 2 days?
The defensive intensity that they're playing with right now, Scott, that's what the difference was in game three. I think the whole key to stopping Miami isn't so much to focus on Jimmy Butler. He's gotten the praise, deservedly so. The key is to stop Dragic. And the difference that Boston had game plan-wise, and throwing more bodies at him, making him uncomfortable, going to the rim, not allowing him to catch any kind of early rhythm, that paid major dividends down the stretch in game three, and I think that stunted what Miami wanted to do. So as far as a key moving forward, you've got to stop Goran Dragic. If you do that, you don't allow Miami to be at their best, what they want to do on the offensive end.
Well, one of the things that even you mentioned Bam Adebayo that he said to you was that they seem to start slowly with games, and that they need to start the games like they start fourth quarters. So why is that happening?
I think they've gotten way too comfortable in thinking that, we'll just get them back at the end. And when you're playing a team that's as talented as Boston is, you can't allow that to happen. You've got to be able to push and make sure that you keep Boston on their toes. I think that's the real struggle with what we've seen from the Heat is, if you don't get Jimmy Butler involved offensively earlier and he doesn't push and he doesn't make his presence felt, you fall up against a team with the talent that the Celtics have in Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum and Kemba Walker, you're going to be in some trouble. And I thought that was the biggest point and the most truthful statement that Jimmy's made, Scott, was he said, look, Boston has more talent than we do. We have to beat them in other areas. If they don't do that earlier in games, the holes are going to be too big to climb out of.
Well, you just mentioned it. Basically, the Celtics rely on three, maybe four guys if you include Marcus Smart, but the Heat aren't a superstar-laden team. So how can each of them move on to the NBA Finals here?
I think the key for the Heat is you've got to involve Jimmy earlier offensively. You've got to get open looks when you can for Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero, and you've got to make the offense run at a level that we saw earlier in the bubble. We've already discussed Dragic. The difference is if you get him going and you get open looks for the Heroes and the Robinsons, you'll space out the floor. So even if Jimmy doesn't want to impose himself offensively early, he's still going to have better looks in the second half and especially late in the game. If you're the Celtics, the whole key is defensively, because you know what you're going to get from Tatum and Brown, and Kemba starting to get rolling again, and Gordon Hayward looked better than I thought he would have after missing about a month. The key for them is on the defensive end, and it's got to be containing Dragic and not allowing Jimmy to take over late. So if you do those things, even if you give up the shots at times to Hero and to Robinson, I still think the Celtics are in really good shape in this series, because I think top to bottom, their offense is that much better than where Miami's best is, unless they're doing everything they need to do, and that's a tough sell in the postseason.
But the Heat actually have had great defensive rotation. I think Crowder has been excellent. We mentioned Bam Adebayo. How is let's just go with Adebayo here. How has his development into an all-star made the Heat into a possible Eastern Conference champion?
Scott, I don't think the basketball world understands just how good this kid is going to be over time. He is great now. He's going to be phenomenal in the next couple seasons. He has talent on both ends. The biggest flaw, it seems, right now in Bam's game is that he can't create his own shot. It's tough for him to just take things off the dribble or go down low in the post consistently. We see flashes of it, but his game offensively is built on cleaning things up at the rim, making sure that he's setting the tone defensively that's leading to everything else. But he has been really, really good. He's going to get better. You mentioned Crowder, and he gets lost in the shuffle a lot, but Crowder is a gigantic reason the Heat are where they are. Not only does he fit the Heat culture and the toughness and tenacity that this team is built upon, he's been hitting shots all over the place. When he hits shots, it's like everything else. It spreads the floor for what Miami likes to do best, which is space out the shooters and have Bam clean up down low. So if you get a Crowder game where he's knocking down threes early, that is another really good key that Miami needs to get another game in this series.
As you mentioned, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown has also been excellent. As a matter of fact, him and Tatum have each scored 20 points in the same playoff game 8 times during this bubble period. So what are they doing that's actually causing the Celtics to be as successful as they are?
I think the key for Boston has been that all season long, especially in the last couple of years, Tatum and Brown especially have been prepping for this moment. They have had their failures at times in the postseason. You've got people around the league saying, are they ready? Are they ready right now to do it? In their minds, they believe that they are. And they believe that the experience of the last couple of years has led them to this point. I think the difference that we've seen for both guys is the intensity on both ends. We all knew that they could score, and we knew that they could get rolling in bunches at times. The difference for both of these players right now is when they need a defensive stop, both guys seem confident that they're going to be able to make it happen. The confidence that they show as young leaders on the team permeates through the rest of the roster. If Tatum and Brown can do it, and then Kemba Walker's there to make a few shots, Marcus Smart makes a couple defensive stops, they have the structure they need, and everybody else wants to carry their own weight.
All right, so then if it's 2-2, who wins the series?
I'm taking Boston. I took them before the series. I know that Miami started out hot. I would couch it all by saying anytime that I've bet against Jimmy Butler over the years, he has gone out of his way to prove me wrong on some level. So it wouldn't stun me by any stretch to see them get to the finals. But Boston has more talent. I think they've got their minds right after a tough couple games. And if they keep playing the way they did in Game 3, I just think it's going to be too much.
All right. Well, Nick, I want to thank you for joining me here on Triple Take. And I want to thank you, the audience, for also joining me. And we'll see you the next time here on Triple Take.